My name's Bethany Self, and we're going to be talking about false confessions today. First and foremost, what false confessions are. Exactly what they say they are, admitting to a crime that you didn't commit. Most commonly, it has to do with police coercion, maybe to protect somebody else from taking the rap. Long story short, you're admitting to something that you didn't do. There are four main types: coerced, voluntary, instrumental, authentic. The coerced instrumental has to do with the stress of the interrogation, and basically a person just admits to what they didn't do just to end it, just to give the interrogator what it is that they want to hear so that the interrogation ends. The voluntary instrumental false confession has to do with protecting somebody else. Maybe it was a little brother or a little sister, big brother, big sister, family member, etc. Just somebody that you don't want to take the rap. You want to take the rap for them. You want to prevent them from being in trouble. So you admit to it. Or also you could admit to it maybe because of the fame of the crime. Definitely with our media today, there is a lot of attention focused on the crime, a lot more attention focused on the criminal. So maybe they admit to it to gain some sort of fame, some sort of notoriety. Coerced authentic has to do with obviously some type of police coercion. Basically, they just start to believe that they did it. You know, they've been sitting in this room for 8 hours and they have this person screaming in their face saying, "You did it! It was you!" Yes, it was. No, don't tell me it wasn't. It was you. If I had some big scary man in my face telling me that, I might start to believe it too. And then finally, the voluntary authentic has to do with the individual is mentally ill in some way, so they're not really sure what it is that they're admitting to. This is an important topic to discuss and research, mainly because not everybody knows what we do. We're on our way to getting our master's degree in criminal justice. Most of us have criminal justice backgrounds, so we know the laws and the rules when it comes to interrogation. Not everybody knows that, and statistics show that not everybody believes that somebody can have the capacity to admit to a crime that they didn't commit when they know they're going to end up with jail time or they know they're going to end up with the death penalty. Reality check for a hot second. You know the death penalty is on the table. You know jail time is definitely on the table. And you're going to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, I did it." Normal people, how can they understand that? You know, if they've never been interrogated before, they have no idea what it's like. The importance of this also speaks to our prison population as well as the general public's faith in the justice system. Multiple meta-analyses showed that 14 to 60%, 60% of wrongful convictions have been caused by false confessions. Basically meaning that out of 14% to 60% of the time that people have been sent away for crimes that they didn't commit, it had to do with false confessions. See a problem? I do. That 14 to 60% accounts for the number one reason of wrongful convictions. And if that's not a reason to pay attention to this, I'm not really sure what is. Since 1989, over 200 people have been freed by DNA evidence, meaning that since the influx of DNA analyses, we've gone back over past cases, checked out stored DNA, and been like, "Oh, hey, it didn't match. You're free." Between 15 and 25% of those exonerations had a confession involved. Basically meaning that if DNA had been utilized at the time of this case, that person may or may not have gone to jail based off their confession. However, evidence shows that regardless of DNA evidence, people are still going to convict, simply for the reason that they can't imagine somebody admitting to something that they didn't do with consequences as big as jail time. Leo stated in one of his many, many studies on false confessions that even once jurors realize that interrogators, police, use coercion to get a confession, in spite of other more important evidence, like, I don't know, blood, semen, saliva, etc., it doesn't change their judgments of guilt. They can't get around the confession. In one of his actual experimental studies, he studied university students about their feelings on different interrogation techniques. Overall, students, regardless of the interrogation technique, and one of them was even, the threat of violence, regardless of that, students still rated likely to elicit a false confession as the least likely possibility. So basically what we're getting from this is, regardless of what's used, regardless of what's done, people just can't get their heads around the idea that somebody would admit to a crime that they did not commit. So long story short, lawyer up, don't confess, and don't sign anything. It's not worth it. Because once the false confession happens, once the confession itself happens, the ball is just rolling, 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 and not stopping. Police treat you differently. Court officials treat you differently. Prosecutors treat you differently, just because that confession is taken with such certainty. It's taken that this is the tell-all, end-all, done. Once you've confessed, we don't want to look at anything else. So, be smart, and don't confess if you didn't do it. Thanks for your time. Have a great night.